All right.
My question was back to the arms, the weaponry. Historically, it seems like there's everything under the sun, pretty much weapon-wise, unless it's a gun or any type, way, shape, or form. Do you agree? We just have no firearms.
Crossbow's the closest thing to it.
Yeah, we've got bows, we've got swords. I mean, and up until we get the first, prototype of guns, pretty much what we always had, right? I mean, so, does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing to
I
gunpowder.
mean, it could even be like now. I mean, yeah.
The closest thing to gunpowder there was what the illuminators produced.
Yeah, they're gonna.
But they kept it secret, and so they kept it from everyone else. And I guess the magic ability has delayed the development of the weaponry, unlike all the other inventions. They're sort of more, well, at least 1600 versus 1700 into 1850 almost, but the weapons are way back in 13. The lack of guns, it's more like late 1300s into 1400s.
Didn't the Chinese keep gunpowder secret for
Well, I would say that, but in real life, in our history, if you discounted firearms, we never really had anything other than that either. Everything that you consider modern weaponry is all based on gunpowder. I mean, they're all some type of firearm. Until we got lasers.
We're working on lasers.
Yeah.
But, I mean, am I not remembering something? I mean, is that a parallel?
Actually, everything.
You could also question the difference between the current age and the books and the past age, the age of legends, where weaponry was really sophisticated, the shock lances and so forth. That was a society that was almost destroyed because of war and the effects. So they had to kind of go back to square one of the current age.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah? What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, his name is Dante's me, bro. Yeah. No, it's like a taser on a stick. You know.
Cattle prod?
Yeah. Cattle prod, big cattle prod. Yeah.
That's what I was like, hot shot. Texas, Oklahoma, hot shot.
Go ahead.
You had mentioned, some of the books that were used in the writings. You mentioned Sun Tzu. What other philosophers did he really key on more than others, such as Machiavelli? And I see a lot of influence on Machiavelli in the books. Any other philosophers that influence the writings in some of the different cultures?
Not specifically, again, we have a library of 15,000 volumes, most of which he read cover to cover. There was, I would have to say there was probably a lack of Western philosophy in relation to what came out of Asia in Jim's library. Yeah, and that being said, I mean, Herod Feld really seems to be more of a Western philosopher in his approach, of rationality. What's that book, Reason and Unreason or something? Min keeps reading. And the logical structure, that probably would have come out of Plato, Socrates, the Greek philosophers. But we really see more of the philosophy and the art of war and the systems. And despite, Jim was really strange too in his knowledge. He seemed to know a lot about everything, and yet there were some real lacks that he would have to ask about the whole systems of meditation and yogis, what they do with their bodies and that sort of thing. Because the whole thing, remember the ability to withstand cold and heat without feeling it, which was not a power. It was something that was learned. And, you know, I had to give him information about that, which anybody who had done meditation and knew anything about yoga and so forth and so on would have known. And yet, you know, you get into some of the Taoist thoughts and some of the Chinese, ancient Chinese things. He really knew. He was really on top of that stuff. So, you know, it was sketchy in some cases, but in other cases, incredibly raw. And it's just, you know, it's so much fun just to see what gets pulled out every page. There's something different coming at you from several different directions. It's lovely to see. And it's the equivalent of, you know, reading about a new weapon somebody has, a new sword, and looking on the wall. Oh yeah, it's that one over there. It's, any topic, it's the same way.
He's talking about the tinkers,
Tinkers,
yeah, the travelers.
gypsies.
Yeah.
Oh,
But what else?
Everything about gypsies that you always hear negative is totally not true with the tinkers.
yeah, I mean, remember, that right in the beginning, I think there are rumors that they steal babies.
Yeah, there's the songs about the tinkers fixing cars.
So I do know someone who was stolen by gypsies as a child.
For real?
Yeah.
For real.
Romania.
There's some other influence on the tinkers, I think, but I can't
But they kind of remind me of, you know, the traveling salesman from the early 1900s, maybe, or before that.
Yeah, and they're also the, what are they called, the Irish tinkers?
Oh,
Irish travelers, yeah.
yeah, they're in that part of the country, aren't they?
They're down our way.
Yeah, right across the border.
But there's something else, yeah, you know, that whole business of wandering through the song and basically trying to find themselves.
But the total nonviolence thing is another part of it.
Yeah, you could almost say they're a counterbalance to what's going on in the real world there. I mean, they have their own journey, which is a journey of peace at all costs, because that's so embedded in their culture. Whereas Rand and our
And
heroes
salvation with this
have their own journey too, which is countering the effects of the Dark One and winning the last battle.
But to me, one of the most interesting facets of the books is the way that the Aiel come from the Tinkers and how
They started out in fashion.
and how you can still see their influence and their anti-influence all at the same time. And we hate those people, but we let them in our land, you know, when no one else can come in. We don't want anybody, if we talk to them, we might find out a little about our history or something else.
The Carhyon are also interesting in that way too. Very straight-laced people who once a year just anything goes, and it's the release valve. And so, what's that based on? Anyone have any ideas?
Well, the Japanese are very straight
You are.
laced.
Mardi
I
Gras.
always got Mardi Gras.
Saturnalia, a lot of cultures had that song.
Actually, in
Much innuendo of what. I went to the one party and there's so much innuendo. I'm just like, I was blushing and I was driving in my car listening to this going, it's damn near porn. Talking about, well, I'm talking about learning how to play a flute. I was like, I'm never gonna read this part in the same again. So yeah, they've always been.
It's almost a rite of passage for the Amish as well. And they get to, 18 or so that kind of go off and, take a week or just experiencing the world and make your decision whether you want to be in that life or not.
and pre-Christian Europe, pretty much across the continent, was it Beltane in the west, and there are other names for it, but it seems to fall around the summer solstice.
Well, yeah, and that was in 2 rivers.
Those guys, yeah, and the name was so similar. But,
Does it have a name?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
okay.
that maple,
What is the influence of the Domani dress? Where does that come from and what does it look like?
the Domani?
Domani dress? Is it just his thing, of just a slinky
I
dress?
think it was a bar Jim went to when he was. Yeah, so it's generally revealing.
Form-fitting, very thin, high neck.
It's a combination of kind of Indian, but also the harem type thing too. Yeah,
It's not actually sheer, it's just
almost. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, there's sort of some part of India where the dress is more like there is a caste where they're actors and they're called Damani and they do like they're cheeky. So yeah, so yeah, I think that will appear on the blog in the next. Yeah, I know. I do have a life outside.
Any last questions? Sorry, 5 more minutes. Do you have one?
Oh, I just had a little mention when we were talking about how the firearms progress had been held back so much. My understanding was that the greatest contribution to that was the fear of the one power since the break-in happened. Anything that might resemble the one power would immediately be knocked down because the people would be afraid to start.
And isn't it ironic that the very person who's going to enable all this really fears the one power?
It's the breaker.
Well, the ancient legends say that there's a blend of one power and technology. So I can see how you're there, because before, much of the technology was powered by.
And if you do anything that might consist of the one power, it could be involved in another region of the world where the Chinese could make the little robots that were autonomous, they could move and serve, and where somebody randomly tried to come up with system, they would say, oh my gosh, you're one power. Or it might look like you are, so you bring the wrath of the people against us, so they will be suppressed.
I'm thinking of the clocks.
The wine that
The automated clock. Yeah, the automaton.
It's called an automaton.
I have one more just to wrap it up, and then obviously, you know, through Jim's bio and his other works, if it's Fallon's Blood or whatnot, obviously we see his deep love and appreciation for Charleston. Have you seen specific Charleston references in that series? In Charleston, there's a street called Ogier Street. And he says, you know, when he was making up the name, and, you know, he didn't think about that street, but he said, it's a surname. You know, he does too. And, you know, he didn't realize that's what he'd done, but with names especially, you know, he basically collected stuff and then it come out, changed a little bit, I would say the same.
Yeah, and where he lives is at the corner of Trad and Logan. And sure, Logan came from Logan. Also, Jen Aiel, it's obvious what that came from, right?
Jane.
No. Their cooktop is a Jen Eyre, so it's.
Terrible.